Hi, friends. Welcome back to another Wellness Minute video series. I am so happy today. One of my oldest, well, she's way younger than I am, but one of my longest friends in the industry, Lisa Starr from Wynne Business, is with us. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Allan. It's so great to be here with you.
Yeah, well, it looks nice and sunny where you are in Pennsylvania. We've been getting torrential NOAA-level floods in Palm Springs. Everything is shut down.
Well, we have the opposite weather. Sorry about that.
It's okay because today we're going to do a few of these, but today we get to talk to one of my favorite subjects which is compensation, because I think we're still one of the only industries where there's 25 pay plans. So why don't you take the floor for a minute and just kind of get us on track here with compensation for therapists, because I know what a difficult subject it is.
Sure. So I think it's so important to discuss compensation for therapists because it's one of the most impactful items on your profit and loss statement. And as Allan mentioned, we do have 25 plans in place. In fact, even more. I mean, the good news is that in America, you can make it up as you go. You don't have to fit into sort of a plan, which is done in most other countries where they pay a certain amount per month, and that's that. We have the option to make any number of different pay plans, and we do. So they vary across the country. And the important thing is to think about what is going to work for your business. So as a consultant, I find that people haven't always thought about that, and they just tend to do what their neighbor does, which may not work at all.
And Lisa, one of the things you mentioned, which I think is always so critical, and believe me, very few people in our industry went to school for accounting. So understanding your P&L, understanding how compensation fits into your P&L, it's critical, right?
It's absolutely critical. As I mentioned earlier, your compensation, labor for us is our number one highest cost. So if you don't have your labor right, then you're going to be fighting to get out of the hole from that point forward. So it's just too frequent that people go into their new establishment with a plan that isn't really built for the long term.
And we've noticed this over the course of the time, and this is with deference to our therapists, because there would be no spa channel business if there was not therapists. But you cannot have new members joining your team saying to you as an owner, this is how I get paid. You have to have 2 or 3 concise plans, or one plan? What do you think?
Well, for technicians, we like to have one plan. Yes, sometimes we need to grandfather someone that's been there a long time. I recognize that. But the more plans you have, the more challenging it is to operate it. And what we want our compensation plan to do is work for both sides. We want the technicians to be incented to do their best work and upsell and cross-sell and sell retail. And we want them to retain guests, and we want them rewarded for that behavior. But we can't have them making so much money as a percentage of sales that the business can't market or survive. That doesn't make sense for either party.
I talked to a spa director last week we got on the subject, and I said, well, how many massage therapists and estheticians do you have on staff? And she goes, I love those titles. She goes, but I call them my cats, like corralling cats, right? Because therapists have always been this very independent, and I'm glad that they are in our industry, because that's what makes going to a spa channel facility interesting. But again, you can't have different plans for different people that don't fit the parameters of your own P&L. So will you address how labor fits onto the profit and loss statement?
Well, the big picture of labor is that we look at what are we paying out for direct costs for labor, for both desk and support, management, and then the technicians. If you're in a state or a situation where you're paying an hourly or a guarantee, what does that look like? What is the commission upside? What is your tax obligation? And then that entire piece, what percentage is that of revenue? And I can speak broadly and say that we'd like to see that entire expense side of labor, all labor encompassing, to be under 52 to 54% of your revenue. It's going to vary based on a million factors, so don't run to the bank with this. But if you're in a situation where you're paying technicians commission, old school 50%, some states higher, plus you have tax obligation, plus I guess you do need to pay your front desk staff. They'd like to get paid. And suddenly your labor is eating up 65% of your revenue, and then you wonder why you can't make any changes in the business, because your hands are tied.
Okay, it's obvious we could do 5 hours on compensation, right?
For sure.
But I want to ask you one question before we finish on compensation today with therapists. But Lisa, I know you're very big on giving a little bit of your time back. You do what, 20, 30-minute consultations? People can reach out to you to talk about this?
They can indeed. I'm happy to speak to anybody who's having a challenge, which is many people. I get a lot of calls from owners who say, I'm profitable, but not very much. I think I could make more. And there's often a way to do it. Compensation plans have to work for both sides. They need to be modern. They need to have upside. I like to have tiers where people can progress through. I mean, if there's no carrot for me to behave in a certain way, why would I, right? So if your plan is flat for everyone across all levels, you're not going to see your business grow.
No, flat doesn't work anymore. You need a different flexibility, especially like you said, front desk, they want to be paid too. And now are you compensating them for selling retail? And so their plan might look different than therapists in the room as well. But
very much so, very much so.
I want our members to be able to reach out to Lisa. This is one of the smartest women in our industry, and I look forward to seeing you in New York in a few weeks as well.
You will indeed. Thanks, Allan. It was great to spend time with you.
Bye, Lisa. You too. Talk soon.